Welcome to Sports Close-Up. Mike Fiorello here, and today we're going to discuss Edinboro athletics. And we have the new football coach of Edinboro University, Wayne Bradford. Wayne, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Let's get a little background first, Coach. Tell us about where you went to high school and college and when you started playing football yourself.
I'm originally from Portsmouth, Virginia. I was born in Portsmouth Naval Hospital and moved to Central Maryland and grew up in Glen Burnie. I did go to Mount St. Joe High School, a Catholic high school, in my 9th grade year, and then I came back home and went to Glen Burnie Senior High for the remaining 3 years. And after that, I attended Salisbury University, which is a Division III program on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Fortunate enough as a true freshman to be on the 1986 Amos Alonzo Stag team. We lost in the national championship game to Augustana. Played there the next 3 years and began coaching right after my playing career ended. Coached there from 1990 to 98. Received my master's degree. I was a business major and also was a full-time faculty member.
Nice.
And ran the MBA program. So at the Division III level, you wear multiple hats.
What position did you play?
I was an offensive lineman. We were a Division III team, and both my high school and college, which you guys will find this funny, were wing T. So obviously Meadville was very successful.
I was just going to say, we know that offense very well.
In fact, I've written a national article defending the wing T, which was in American Football Monthly magazine. We used to play Shippensburg, who ran the wing T, and we had a bit of success against them.
Well, Coach Collins of Meadville will be very happy that you wrote that article because sometimes he gets a little bit of heat for that offense, but he says it's a diverse offense.
It's a great offense. You know, I was fortunate enough to recruit Barrett Hoffman this year, who will be attending
Meadville,
in the fall.
yes.
And so I went down and watched Meadville play a few times, and get a kick out of them running buck trap, buck sweep, counter crisscross, some of the things that I'm familiar with that probably some of the defenses have no idea what's going on. A lot of misdirection, a lot of guards pulling. One of the reasons that we recruited Barrett was his versatility and his athletic ability as a lineman. I think he could play center and guard on offense. I think he could play 3 technique on defense.
Let's talk about you. How many years have you been at Edinboro University and what positions have you coached here?
I've been at Edinboro. This will be my 18th year. I arrived in 1999 on Tom Holman's staff, served as Tom Holman's defensive coordinator. Unfortunately, Tom was let go in November. I was very fortunate to stay on with one of the greatest college defensive coordinators ever, Lou Tepper. For Coach Tepper.
And he came from D1.
He was at LSU
right.
Prior to that, Illinois, coached 3 Butkus Award winners, coached Bruce Smith at Virginia Tech. So he was 30-plus years as probably the best linebacker coach ever. Has written 2 books. So I coached the defensive line for Coach Tepper from 2000 to 2005. We won back-to-back PSAC championships, 03, 04, 05. Actually had the #1 defense in the country in 3 categories in 2005.
Wow.
When he left to go to IUP, I stayed with Scott Browning, and Scott promoted me to defensive coordinator. So I coordinated the defense from 2006 until 2015 with Scott. And then when Coach Lustig came in, I coached the linebackers and was our director of alumni development last year.
And then he left, take a position at Syracuse, I believe, and you got appointed the head coach. How did that make you feel?
Feels great. Been an assistant football coach for 24 years. Certainly have relished this moment for a long time. Had the pleasure of working for 5 different head coaches, 5 different perspectives, 5 different personalities. Obviously, when you get in this position, you have to be yourself. But want to build on some of the successes that each one of those has outlined for me.
Do you feel you're ready? Obviously you do, but I mean, in a sense where, do you feel you have anything you have to prove?
No, I don't feel like I have anything to prove. We're going to go about our business, and kind of our motto is to trust the process. It's really about the process every day, and if you do all those things the correct way, the outcome will take care of itself.
Being assistant for so many years, now you're the head coach. What is the difference? There's got to be a little difference between being a man in charge of the whole program than just part of the program.
Sure. The biggest difference is obviously the administrative load that you're dealing with now. So not only are you in charge of your own staff internally in the office, Now you are the liaison with purchasing, with financial aid, with admissions, with the athletic director, with the provost. So there's so many more constituencies that you're dealing with. So that's the biggest issue. You actually probably spend a little less time on football as the head coach and more time developing your program to allow your assistants and your team to be successful.
Let's talk about that too, Coach. You got promoted to the head coach, so I'll have the spot vacant in your program. Did you bring in a coach or two? Is your unit basically the same as it was?
Our offensive coordinator, Chris Limbach, who came in last year and did a tremendous job, will continue on, and he'll be elevated to assistant head coach. Does a tremendous job. We scored 41 points a game last year. Joe Watson, who coached our wide receivers last year, will be in the same capacity. We were fortunate enough to take Jack Corey, who was a part-time coach, and move him into a full-time role, coaching our offensive line. I think it's very important that your offensive line coach is a full-time guy.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Let's stop at offensive line. You played there. I always felt most important part of your offense is your line. I mean, you have to have decent backs, but if you don't have a line, nobody's going anywhere.
Sure. The game's changed a lot where you can protect those guys. As you watch the college game, the football is out right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the spread offenses have allowed you to get the ball in and out of the quarterback's hands quickly, but you still have to have the ability to run the ball in crunch time. Jack did a tremendous job. We threw the ball over 500 times last year and only gave up 14 sacks.
Wow.
On the flip side, our opponents probably threw it over 300 times and we had 41 sacks. So just the difference right there was pretty amazing.
Okay, and who else you have for your staff?
Colin Neely, who joined us last year as our defensive line coach and did a wonderful job, has been promoted to defensive coordinator. He's originally from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and he played at Michigan State.
Wow.
Played defensive line, played in over 30 games. Did a tremendous job. Again, I said we had 41 sacks. We also had 108 tackles for losses in 11 games. So we averaged about 13 a game.
So you guys played a lot on the other side.
Yes, we did. Oh, yeah. Spread offenses, we play a lot of plays on offense, on defense, I should say. But at the same time, that's on us on defense as well. We've got to get off the field and play down.
Right.
So
that's the big key. What about your linebacker secondary coach?
Right now, I coach the linebackers in the fall. We went through a little transition in the spring while Coach Lester was still here, and I transitioned to the secondary. We do have a couple vacancies right now that we're working on. We have a part-time guy we hope to hire soon, and our graduate assistant just left for a full-time job. So we're still in the process of finding a couple guys here in the next couple weeks.
And how do you do that? Do you have do you post it on a football coaching website and so forth?
Yes, well, we've been in contact with quite a few local guys for the graduate assistantship.
Sure.
But we've also posted it on a national website. So we have a lot of interest there. And obviously being here 18 years and having some familiarity with the area, we've got some guys that know that our graduate assistant left, so are seeking us out. And then the part-time position, I've been in touch with a few local guys as well and have some interest. So we're just waiting, upon final approval for that to get that rolling.
So your staff will be intact when camp rolls around?
We should be, yes, sir. We hope to have all this done by July 25th when we come back as a staff.
And when does your camp start?
We report August 9th.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So when the whole staff gets together, but I'm sure in the meantime, you've been probably going through your head stuff you want to cover with your staff when the first meetings start and hit the ball, hit the ground running.
Offensively, early in the summer, May, June, they've already probably got their first 3 or 4 game plans done. They've already got their installation schedule done. Coach Neely and myself, I will be coaching a position on defense. Have already talked about our defensive installation. In fact, later this morning, we'll probably get together and watch a little bit of tape. We will be very similar to what we were last year, so there shouldn't be many schematic changes. We just want to do what we did last year better.
And last year was a very successful season, obviously, for the borough. The change was made late coming into this year as far as you taking over as a head coach. You said you don't feel any pressure. Is this something you want to retain? You want to be the head coach here for a while?
I do. This is my home. 2 of my 3 children were born here.
Let's talk about your family. Talk about your family.
My wife, Gwen, we were married in 1995. So,
how'd you meet her?
I met her in college. She went to Salisbury. She's a year younger than me. She was a volleyball player.
Oh, so she likes sports herself, so
correct.
that's a good thing.
So she and I actually met in the weight room. So it's a funny story, and dated for quite some time, and then got married in 1995. And then we moved here in '99. We had our oldest son was born in Maryland. His name is Nicholas.
So she's from Maryland too. So obviously she doesn't mind the winters here. Then.
Well, it's interesting. She was born in Harrisburg, so she's a PA native.
Right.
And at Salisbury, we lived in a little town called Ocean Pines, which is 5 minutes from Ocean City, which is Atlantic Coast, which is the beach.
Right.
So I always joke about bringing her from beach to blizzard.
Yeah.
And she stayed with me. So she doesn't mind the winters. You learn how to drive.
Sure.
And obviously, in Northwest PA, they do a great job of managing the roadways and so forth. My oldest son, Nicholas, just completed his freshman year here.
Nice.
And he is a collegiate swimmer. So in fact, last year as a senior in high school, he won the D10 championship in the IM. And
so he was at
General McLean.
McLean Lancers.
He had a pretty good freshman year this year as well. Qualified for a bunch of events at the PSAC championships as a true freshman. I have a daughter who is a rising senior at Villa Marie Academy.
Okay. Just
dropped her off at Camp Fitch for 2 weeks for CIT. She's amazing. She's a type 1 diabetic. Was diagnosed when she was 9. Despite that, she's an all-state swimmer, an all-state water polo player. She was our offensive MVP. So been spending some time this summer attempting to get her recruited for the other end of the spectrum, water polo and swimming. And I have a 12-year-old who will enter the 7th grade, who's kind of my mini-me. He also swims. He will be at James Parker Middle School, right here locally.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And he'll be attending, I'm sure, all the games, at least at home anyway.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. My kids' water polo is in the fall, so my wife and daughter end up missing a few things. And unfortunately, I miss a few things. And then swimming's in the winter, so they'll be able to catch some things.
But the little guy will be at the game.
The little guy will be at the games. He'll be on the sidelines, yes, sir. So they're really excited about being on the sideline on game day. So that's something that will be really special.
Let's talk about the sideline, how it's going to be different from you, because you have an offense coordinator. Your offense did great last year, but now you're the head coach. If it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, and time is running out, you're going to have to make that decision whether we go, we punt.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be interesting for you, right?
It will be. We'll be aggressive. I think that the biggest thing I told Coach Limbach, is hey, when it's 3rd down, I'll tell you when it's 2 down territory. But obviously we're gonna be aggressive. We scored 41 points a game last year. I'm not going to be very involved with the offense. I'm not going to get in their way. One thing I learned as an assistant is you hire great people and you let them go. So that they did a tremendous job last year, schematically, personnel-wise, tempo-wise, and we have a majority of those guys back on offense. So I expect great things there. Defensively is going to be interesting because I've called it since 1999. Right. So I'm sure I'm going to have to bite my tongue a lot when Coach Neely makes a call.
Maybe make a suggestion.
I may even have to take the headphones off during defense. So I'm not biting my fingernails.
Or offer some advice at halftime or something like that. But what about this coach? Had a great season last year. Do you feel like the bullseye's on your back as far as the PAC teams are gunning for Edinboro now?
You always got to take that approach. We've got a great tradition and great pride here at Edinboro. And the one thing I'll say in my 18 years here is our kids have never feared any opponent. We've gone to West Liberty and played the number 3 team in the country and beat them. Yeah. We've gone to Westchester and beaten them. We've gone to Carson Newman and played toe-to-toe with Carson Newman. We've gone to Youngstown, and played toe-to-toe with an FCS team. So, we're going to trust the process. Every year's different. We have a different team. But we've got to take care of internally ourselves and not worry about our opponent.
And do you start recruiting or start looking at kids for the following season already?
We've already done that. We hosted a prospect camp May 21st. We had 130 plus kids here on our campus. And then each coach has probably attended at least 2 other prospect camps in Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Greensburg, Youngstown, Cleveland, Akron. So our coaches have been in contact with the 2018 class quite a bit. So we have a list already of guys that we're real excited about.
What is your recruiting area? The whole country, basically? Or
No,
is it...
we are usually in the tri-state area.
Okay.
So Western New York, Northeast Pennsylvania, and obviously Pennsylvania is a huge state. Western Pennsylvania. We dabble in the central PA, and then with Coach Neely being a native of Bethlehem and having some family back east, we'll try to push eastward a little bit more as well.
Some Ohio too?
Oh, Northeast Ohio, Ashtabula.
So you can find a lot of good talent in that area.
Great talent. We actually took a great kid out of Menor, Ohio, a linebacker, Ryan Bischoff, that'll be here.
Good program there.
Great program, and we haven't had a Menor kid in quite some time. So great to have him. We took an offensive lineman from Allentown Central Catholic over on the eastern side of PA.
Very good program also.
So, and then of course we did really well in Beaver County this year, as well as Pittsburgh and Buffalo and Rochester have been tremendous for us as well. We have 6 kids on campus today, new student orientation, 2 from Rochester, 2 from Buffalo, 2 from the central part of the state, out in the PA Wilds, as we like to call it. So, we've done a really nice job.
Alumni. Does any of your former players send you a text or an email saying, "Coach, there's this player that in my area you might want to take a look at"?
Absolutely. The nice thing about being at a university like Edinboro, which is a teacher's college, is many of our alumni are not only teachers but coaches, and they're constantly, evaluating talent and constantly saying, "Hey, make sure, you take a look at this guy," or we played this guy. So not only our alumni who are teachers or coaches, but just our alumni who are around. Javar Manning, who's an alumnus down there, and social media has been tremendous for us. If you take a look at our presence on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram as a program, Jack Corey, our offensive line coach, is our social media guy, and we are probably on the forefront of that as much as anyone. We have an alumni Facebook page with over 300 members, so we run our golf outing through that, and we're communicating with them every day.
Do you ever, maybe down in the road you're going to be looking at this too and tweaking a little bit? You guys ever play a night game here?
We have. We have played a night game. This is kind of unusual. This is the first year that we don't have one. Okay. But we've played Thursday night games. We've played Saturday night games, both home and away. With me just getting the job, March 29th, the schedule was kind of set.
Well, let's talk about your schedule this year. Who's your first game?
We open up with Lake Erie College from just over the border in Painesville. It's at home. And we have never played them, even though
Saturday afternoon.
That is Saturday afternoon.
So people could go and right here in Edinboro, they can go to a Lancer game Friday night, go to Edinboro game, so. Correct,
absolutely.
When's your first game?
September 2nd.
So in Meadville, they can go to a Bulldog game Friday night, and
correct.
I think they replay at General McLean that Friday night in Meadville, right?
Okay.
6 is that Meadville? Okay, and your game first is September 2nd?
September 2nd. We might play a week before those guys, because we play before Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
So they may have a scrimmage that weekend. Yeah. Their first week may not.
I think the first game, the high school game, is the last Friday in August.
Okay. So
they open up. And I know Meadville opens that Saturday. But anyway, get back to your first game. Okay. And then any other non-league games?
Nope, just one non-league game. And then
biggest Division II conference in the country, the PSAC.
Correct. There are 18 teams. Only 16 play football.
Yeah, but it's a good conference.
It's a great conference. If you look at our conference, Indiana, PA, probably the best tradition, has played in the national championship game multiple times. Bloomsburg has played in the national title game. California's played in the Final Four.
Yeah.
East Stroudsburg's played in the Final Four.
And then locally, you got Gannon, Mercyhurst aren't too bad.
Correct.
And those are great rivalries for Edinboro, Gannon, Mercyhurst.
They are. Our biggest one, is Slippery Rock, being 56 miles away and being in the league
Rock,
much longer.
Talk about heritage. I mean.
Correct. So, that was always the game.
Right.
And then when Mercyhurst and Gannon got into the league, obviously that creates 2 more bitter rivalries in your backyard.
So recruiting, it's got to be really brutal, because we're all recruiting basically the same area.
Very competitive, yes. Saturated, especially in the Western PA area. Every school in the country, from NAIA, Division III, Division II, FCS, Division I, is recruiting the Pittsburgh metropolitan area. District 10 Erie, has got a tremendous history of NFL players, Hall of Famers. So it's very competitive. We've done a great job in Western New York, which has not been as competitive. Not a lot of guys want to fly into Buffalo in December.
Yeah, right.
So with our proximity being about 100 miles from Western New York, we've done a great job there. And then we do try our best in Northeast Ohio, but not only are the PSACs there, but you have Lake Erie,
Right.
you now have Notre Dame,
Yep.
you have Findlay,
Yep.
you have Urbana, you have a lot of small private Division II programs in Northeast Ohio now as well.
Yeah, and you got some D3s out there too that are pretty.
Mount Union,
Mount Union's got a
John
tradition.
Carroll,
Exactly.
Baldwin Wallace. John
Right.
Carroll's been tremendous the last few years, the home of Don Shula. So, there's a tremendous amount of competition.
I know in the past Edinboro got a few kids from the state of Florida. Is that still a thing that happens once in a while?
Once in a while, we have. We really need to concentrate locally.
Yeah.
I really think within a 150 mile radius. But we
This-
do have alums in Florida that'll call us,
Right.
and if we have a connection, we will try to follow up.
What's nice about your 150-mile radius, though, is that the families then can attend the games, see their kids play.
Correct, and we have as good of a family unit as you can imagine. Our Parents Association is tremendous. They go everywhere. The amount of people who traveled out to Rensselaer, Indiana last year to go watch us play St. Joe's was incredible. We'll take 2 trips over to Philly. We'll play both Westchester and Cheney, and I'm sure we'll have more fans than they will probably.
Let's talk about when you go away. You guys ride buses, obviously, coaches. Do you leave Friday? Do you leave Thursday? Depending on who you're playing?
Depending on the distance we're playing. So our first 2 games are at home. We open up with Westchester. We open up with Lake Erie, and then we have 2 Eastern Division games. So Lock Haven is at home, and then we will travel to Westchester. That's a 7-hour trip, so we will leave on Friday. We will actually practice here in the morning, shower, eat, and then go on the road. So we would rather do all of our football work here. Let them stay in class as long as possible so they don't miss much. Westchester, Philly, 7-hour bus ride.
Right.
So do as much as we can here. Stop halfway, let them rest their legs and all, but then get into the hotel and dinner and meetings and so forth.
And then Saturday's the game.
Saturday's the game.
Do they come right back Saturday night, or do they stay over here?
No, we come right back. So what we'll do is we'll play, and then after the game, we will have a meal delivered on the buses so we can get back at a reasonable hour. So you play at noon, the game's 3 hours, you take an hour. 4 o'clock, we'll have a meal delivered, whether it be subs or pizzas. You're still not going to get back to 11 or 12. If you went to a restaurant,
Right.
by the time you pulled in at 8, you're
Sure.
talking another 2 hours. Now you're bringing your kids home at 1 or 2 a.m.
So you want them here on Sunday in case they want to do some schoolwork for their class Monday, or want them to rest a little bit?
Well, our schedule, we actually bring our young men in on Sundays.
Okay.
So they
Especially if some are banged up, maybe?
Correct. Mandatory, everyone who played goes to the training room to check in. And then we will do all our game review on Sunday. We will do a little bit of weightlifting, conditioning.
Sure.
And then we'll go out and practice for about 40 minutes. And really it's to get the soreness out.
Right.
Not a whole lot of game planning.
Right.
Then they'll be free. And then what we do here is we give them all day Monday off. So that is their off
Nice.
day. That is their day to do all their academic
That's the
work.
day you guys get together and start
That's the
planning
day
for
we're in
next
the
week.
we're in the office at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
They're sleeping in. They're going to class.
Right.
And all we ask them on Monday to do is to pop in that late afternoon for a short academic meeting.
Nice.
So, hey, how's your class schedule? Do you have anything due this week? Go through their syllabi. We have some technology on campus where we can just log in and we have access to their schedule and so forth, so we can be on top of those things.
Got that dome over there now.
Yes, sir.
How beneficial has that been for your program?
That's been very beneficial, especially in our off season. That is where in late January, all of February, March, that is where we run. That is where we do our winter workouts. That is where we do all our conditioning from the last week in January through mid-March until we get outside for spring ball. We use it probably 4 days a week in the off season.
Coach, we're going to end it here, but before we do, tell people if they want to contact you here at Edinboro University to discuss your football program. Maybe someone that watches this has a son or a nephew that's interested in football and maybe attending Edinboro. How can they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me via email. It's wbradford@edinboro.edu. They could call me on my office phone at 814-732-1842. They could visit our websites. It's gofightingscots.com. We also have a presence on Facebook. You just punch in Edinboro Fighting Scots Football. And then we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can find us. I'm at Coach Bradford 1 on both of those. So our door's always open. We're located in Macomb Fieldhouse. Our office is in the basement. But we would love to have everyone come out and see us anytime.
And I want to tell all the fans out there that taking an Edinboro game this year, a home game, the schedule's on the website.
Correct.
You can buy a ticket right at the gate when you come up to Edinboro University. It's a great brand of football. And Coach, good luck this season,
Thank
and
you very
hopefully
much.
you'll win the Peace Act.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Go Burrow.
Now back with the SID of Edinboro University, Bob Shreve. Bob, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure to be here.
Why don't you tell us how long you've been here at Edinboro?
I've been here 19 years, started back in November of 1998. I had been at Gannon for 9 years, and the opportunity arose to come out here, and I loved my time at Gannon, but at the same time I think I was looking for maybe a new challenge, and Edinboro offered some things to me, and it's been a fantastic stay for me. Hopefully this will be the last place there won't be any more moves for Bob Shreve before he rides off into retirement.
So are you from Erie originally, or?
I'm from Erie, went to a school that you probably never heard of, Canny Prep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I definitely did.
I was a long time ago a star
They used to
running
have
back, many pounds
I was
ago.
just going to say, they had a good football program back there. Huh?
Well, it was good right after I stopped playing.
Okay.
Minna George came
Yeah, I
in.
was
In
just
fact,
going to say, Minna George started there.
my senior year was
Yeah.
Minna's first year as a
Okay.
head coach,
Yep.
and so I was fortunate enough to play.
Because they played in the FCVC back then.
Yeah. Oh, I can remember coming down, and
Yeah.
we'd play the Conneaut Valleys
Yep.
and the Conneaut
Yep.
Lakes. and
Sagertown,
Maplewood.
yeah.
Sagertown. Maplewood was a powerhouse
Yes.
back then.
Yes, it was.
So, yeah, I played football there, and then went on to Notre Dame. And but for most of my life, I have lived here. I spent 2 years down in Frostburg, Maryland, got my feet wet in sports information in Frostburg. I was a year at Westchester as the SID there, but I think Northwest Pennsylvania is just a great area. I love Erie. We've been able to bring up 3 kids here, and I just had a grandson a few days ago.
Congratulations.
And thank you. So
But tell us a little bit real quick about your wife. How'd you meet her?
I had known her sister for a while, and we just met out one night and kind of hit it off, and it didn't take long. The one thing I warned her when we got engaged, I said, look, I'm in the profession that we may have to up and move, and she's a very rooted family, and the nice thing is she has 4 sisters. They all live in the area. In fact, most of them live within about 2 miles of each other, and she has been with me for 35 years now, and she started off helping me doing statistics down at Frostburg, and still comes to some of the events. I feel bad because we'll sit up at the football games, and she sits off to the side and watches by herself while I'm working, and you'll see her at some of the basketball games sitting behind the scores
So
table.
she's a
and,
Fighting Scott fan.
Oh, recently here when the Cavaliers were on making their playoff run, and I was flipping back and forth between the Indians and the Cavaliers, and she got mad at me. The Cavaliers were up by like 30 points in the fourth quarter. I wanted to watch the end of the Indians game. She said, "Hey, Cavs!" So I've spoiled her. There's no question.
Awesome. All right. Now, SID, what do your duties entail here at Edinboro?
In these strictest of terms, positively promoting athletics at Edinboro University. It has really changed over the years. I mean, we've gone from doing media guides and things of that nature. Now it's all about websites. It's about videos. Photoshop and social media has become huge. In some respects, it's teaching an old man new tricks. In others, I find younger kids who are very good at it, and I've learned to delegate. So. But that's the biggest thing. You promote your student athletes, your coaches, and I'm very fortunate here because we have good programs. It's not a real hard job to do.
Now, you work with the coaches directly and the athletic director directly?
Yes, yeah. Bruce is quote unquote my boss. I mean, the way the structure is,
Right.
I'm
Right.
in management and that, but I work daily with Bruce.
What's it like to work with a famous person? I mean, Bruce was famous before he got to Edinboro as a coach, and he was real good. And then as an AD, and also his Olympic notoriety. He's well published. He comes to Edinboro. So you worked with him as a wrestling coach first, and then as the AD. Has that changed?
It was very intimidating at first. When I started here in '98, in fact, Bruce had just been, I think, a year earlier, been named the permanent athletic director. It was very intimidating because here you had, this huge figure, both figuratively and literally. But what I found is he's a great guy. He's down to earth. He's very hands-on. He allows me to do my job. He will, give me some very good suggestions. And through the years, I mean, it's just become he's just another person to work with now. He's done a great job because he is very hands-on. And the thing that I learned very quickly about Bruce is why he was such a fantastic wrestler is because of his work ethic. It's nonstop. And I think for me, hopefully it's rubbed off some. I mean, I've always tried to, I think if there's one thing that hopefully people say about me is he's a hard worker. And I'd like to think that I got some of that from working side by side with Bruce.
Well, I will say this about you, because I've had the pleasure working with you as I do the games for Meadville on the radio for basketball and football, and especially basketball. When we had to come here for playoff games, you've always been hands-on. We needed a spot to do the games. I've called you on the phone many times, and every time you promised me something, you've come through. You have people check as we're getting set up. Some of the kids will come up and say, you guys need anything? So you've done a great job. I want to thank you for that, because sometimes we go to places that's not always the case.
Well, that is the job. I mean, we're here. You serve so many masters because we've got to work for the athletes, the coaches. But the other thing is we're only as good as what the media gives us. I can do all this great work, but if the media doesn't care for us, or as you say, we've tried to help you out here. Well, if you're not happy with how we service you, you're probably not going to take care of us to the extent that we hope. So I'm glad to hear that. You did mention the kids making that walk up the stairs. The legs don't let me as many times. I try to make sure there's only so many times I got to walk up those stairs all the way up Macomb.
One great thing you guys have done, because I've been doing the games for a long time, is the lighting is so much better in the gym than it used to be.
Yeah, we, I don't know, it's probably been 8-9 years ago now that we changed that lighting. I was thrilled from the standpoint of photography and that, but I think for everybody, for our events, it's great when you get the PIAA events in here or whatever. You go to some gyms, and I know now as my eyes have changed with age, you really notice that difference. And so when you come in here, it's a fantastic place to watch a game.
And it's really great that Edinboro has allowed the PIAA to use this facility, because it's just a great facility for high school to have their playoffs.
I can remember coming out here, and I can't remember the year, but I remember McDowell was playing Warren, and it was John Bowen and Mike Dowling, and this place was packed. That's one of my earliest memories of Macomb, and it's so exciting to see the people walking in the lobby and filling up this gym, and it's a period, that February, March time of year is one that I really look forward to around here.
A lot of different sports here at Edinboro that you guys are involved in, you and Bruce, and one of the things I want to touch on real quick with you, Bob, is the wheelchair basketball program. We've had your coach on our show. What a great thing you have here at Edinboro.
Yeah, Jim Glatch does just a tremendous job. I mean, in all fairness, he probably is a one-man show, as some of us are here. But you talk about a person whose heart is in his job, and when you see the tournaments and you see the kids around here, it takes a very special person to do that for as long as he has done it. And I have the utmost respect for Jim, and I've had the opportunity, I think, as we've had more and more tournaments here, to watch the kids play. Anybody who has not seen a wheelchair basketball game needs to come down here and see what tremendous athletes these kids are and how hard they play. I mean, they get knocked to the ground. No one's there to help them up. They get up themselves. I mean, it's physical, and the talent level, it is really something to see.
No doubt about that. And if you want to see a wheelchair basketball game or any athletic event that's here at Edinboro University, just go to Edinboro University website. All the schedules are there. Bob, if anybody out there wants to contact you about more information about Edinboro athletics, how to get a hold of you?
Easiest way, Shreve, SHREVE, @edinboro.edu. I try to get back on emails just as as quick as I can to people. I've always said it's a 24/7 job, so we'd love to have you out here. www.gofightingscots.com is our athletic website. There's ways to contact all of our coaches there, and you know, we welcome people to come out and welcome any questions you may have.
Well, Bob, thanks for giving us a few minutes, and good luck to you and the Fighting Scots. Now back with the AD of Edinboro University, Bruce Baumgartner. And Bruce, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
First thing is I want to get off the record right now. I'm a big Yankee fan. I know you're a big Yankee fan.
I'm a Yankee fan.
I think they're coming back with the young talent, Bruce.
Well, I think so. You know, it's nice to see them. I just hope they don't build it around one, hitter.
Right.
You know, I mean, they got to go back to where they got some good young talent, some good young players, and you got to hope they're doing reasonably well right now. Kind of slumping a little bit right now, but
Yes.
they'll come around.
Let's talk about the state of athletics here at Edinboro University. Last year, football, you had a great season. Your coach gets the D2 Coach of the Year, and because he did so well, one of the D1 schools nabbed him and plucked him away from you. I just talked to your coach here, Mr. Coach Bradford. What is your vision for the program? Coach Bradford said he doesn't feel any pressure on himself. I kind of think myself I'd feel some pressure get the head job so late. What do you think about the situation right now?
Well, I think the situation is, Coach Bradford's our interim head coach. We'll make a decision, before the end of the season and try to get a person permanently announced in December. It could be Coach Bradford for all we know, but we're keeping our options open. Coach has done an awful lot of good things coming into the spring football and in the summer, so we're excited about the direction of our football program. Our university, we have some challenges. We have some challenges in athletics, but overall, we have just such great coaches on our staff, great administration, guys like Bob Shreve, you interviewed him earlier. I really think the future for Edinboro University is bright. Dr. Walker has a plan to help correct some of our issues, and some of the budgetary funding issues and so forth. And, I believe as that unfolds over a year or two period, I really think the future of Edinboro University is very bright, and the future of Edinboro athletics is very bright. And there's some changes going to happen, but man, Edinboro's a great place.
It is, and I know you've loved this university. Let's talk about the building we're in now, Macomb Fieldhouse. It's starting to get a little bit older. I mean, people forget when this first opened, this was the crown jewel of the PSAC in a sense. Is there a plan down the road to do some improvements in this building?
We are working on some planning through, Dr. Walker's vision for the university. I know Macomb Fieldhouse is part of that vision. We need to do some, and he can speak for the, different academic studies that we're going to do and strategic plans and facility plans, and then entering into a capital campaign not too far down the road. And I think at that point, our desire is to have Macomb Fieldhouse, whether it's renovation, addition. I don't think it's where Macomb's still a really good place. It needs some sprucing up. It needs some renovation work. But I don't think we're going to replace Macomb Fieldhouse. But I think there'll be hopefully in that capital campaign process, we'll fix some of the things. If you look at when you walk in the lobby in the gym, it's still one of the nicer places in the PSAC. Now, when you get into some of the infrastructure things, the plumbing, the ventilation, the lighting and heating and cooling, stuff like that, it's a 40-plus-year-old building that's not been renovated. But you walk in, the video room we're in now, the gym, the lobby, it's a pretty nice place for a high school to come in and compete for the District 10s, or a college coming in to play basketball, wrestling, volleyball. I mean, it's a nice facility.
Talking about the gym, and I mentioned this to Bob. I think you guys did 8 or 9 years ago. You fixed the lighting, which has really made a great impact in that facility.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting scenario. The company that came in to do it, they replaced those old lights that took forever to heat up, and if you had a power outage, it was a 20-minute game delay because they had to cool down and heat up. And when they designed it, for some reason, they actually designed more lights than they needed to. There was a miscalculation, and it was a state grant and all that, so they put it up. And it really is one of the nicer, when they have all the bulbs working, which they do it twice a year, any of the bulbs. But, you know, it saves significant amount of energy compared to the old lighting, and it's much brighter. So it's really a very good place, you know, for a game, an event, and just the fact that it's bright, I think, makes people feel good when they walk in there.
Yeah. And you know, you touched on District 10, and you know, I do a lot of radio games for Meadville. One of the things we always like is how well you treat the high school coaches and the radio people when they come here, and how you let your gym be used by the PIAA. That's a great thing. Well,
you know, we have a good relationship with the PIAA. That's a great organization for helping youth. You know, they take their hits in the media and all this, but it's a pretty dang good organization. It provides our son and daughter some unbelievably great competition, and we have a good relationship with them. And you know, we hold anywhere from 5 or 6 to a couple of dozen, you know, soccer, football, basketball games a year. Some years wrestling, and you know, we benefit. We get high school students on our campus, and hopefully they like the facility. You know, we get some rental charges. You know, they pay obviously the bills and so forth. But it's great. I mean, when you have your gym filled with, you know, 2 District 10 teams, or even, you know, 2 regional teams, and you know, you just see the excitement in those kids, and you're providing an opportunity for them to play at a little bit nicer than a high school gym. You know, it's a great feeling, and I think it's great for Edinboro University, and I think it's, quite frankly, it's great for the region.
No doubt about that. And let's talk about, you saying bringing teams in here. Your wrestling program the last few years has brought in some powerhouse schools into this area. That's a great thing for the people in this area.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you look at all of our sports. You know, you get. You know, last year I think it was Indiana basketball was ranked in the top 4 or 5. You know, where do you get a chance to watch a top national team? You know, we had Iowa last year and Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
You know, next year we're going to have Oklahoma coming in.
Wow.
I forget who else, but we always try to keep a good schedule. You know, the Pitts and the Penn State, the Pitts and the West Virginias and so forth. You know, we're going to Lehigh this year, so it's really. Getting those big teams in helps us, because, you know, we can turn that money over and then go to return them next year. You know,
right.
It's a good thing. And if you look at it, again, where does the local wrestling person, you know, go get an opportunity to watch a caliber competition like that? You know, whether we win or lose, and we're always competitive. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's, you know, some years we've beaten some of those really good teams. But it's a great feeling when you see, you know, the gym filled, whether it's a high school basketball or you know, college basketball, college volleyball, you know, the wrestling. It's just a great, you know, it's an opportunity for our alumni, our fans, our local community, you know, the high school's local community and fans to come in and just see some great athletic competition.
You know, Bruce, too, let's talk about the PSAC for a second. Let's touch on that. The biggest D2 division in the country is PSAC. It's great quality athletics in the PSAC, isn't it?
18 schools, you know, wide variety of you know, privates and publics. You know, the competition is just awesome. It's getting harder and harder every year to win the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. You know, there's just some great schools. You know, some of us are having some struggles, you know, and as you read all that, yeah. But I still think it's an unbelievably solid, good conference, great competition. I mean, it's just, I really think, and I'm not demeaning or saying anything against the Ohio States or the Penn States, but for our fans and for our student athletes, you know, our student athletes aren't going to compete at Penn State in basketball, right, or Ohio State in football. So when you come to Edinboro, a student athlete, you know, they're getting a great opportunity to compete in their sport, whatever it is, you know, whether it's volleyball, softball, lacrosse, soccer, you know, women's basketball, and you know, men and women's basketball, wrestling, so forth and so on. They get a great opportunity to compete and be the best athlete they can be. They get a really good education at affordable cost, and have some great experiences. You know, they have some great fans, some great wins, the agony and defeat. And that's what, Division II athletics in a lot of ways, it's not about the business. It's about the student athlete and the fan and the families. And it's a great place to be.
And and I touched this with Bob too, Bruce. You have a sport on this campus many colleges and universities don't have. And it's a tribute to you at Edinboro, is the wheelchair basketball program.
Yeah, our wheelchair basketball program, we're hoping that league will grow. It's a little rough when you're looking at our closest competitor in our league is Illinois.
Yeah.
Champaign, Illinois.
Right.
Now there's one in Arizona. There's Texas, Arlington, Alabama. Not only are those so mumuch different financially than us, I mean, they spend more in their athletic department than our entire university budget, those schools.
Right.
But the travel's absorbent. So, we're hoping that we can, grow that league so that, maybe a Penn State or a Pitt or a Ohio State or a Cleveland State or a Bucknell will start, so that we could have some more competition. But, I mean, those young men and some years young women, they're just a inspiration to us all. They work as hard or harder than our able-bodied athletes. Probably can play less than our able-bodied athletes and have to overcome so many different more obstacles, for the most part, than our able-bodied athletes. And I think when you watch them, it's just I don't want to say it's an amazement, but I think it's an inspiration. How dedicated and you ought to come watch a game. I mean, it's good basketball. I mean, it is exciting. It is. They're talented. We've had a couple of guys make the Olympic team before, and Coach Glatch was the Olympic coach, so we're real proud of that.
And I'd like to, as you just said, invite any coach to bring their team. I don't care what sport it is, to see those kids play, young men play and young ladies play, because I think sometimes young people need to say, "Wow, I'm fully able to do everything," and I'm complaining sometimes. Maybe I need to work harder and do what they do.
Well, I sometimes get my own inspiration from that. You start feeling down a little bit, and I'll tell you, we've had some, on our team currently and in the past, just some unbelievably good people that have gone on and been very successful. And I think, again, that's what, to me, athletics is about at the college. Providing, our young men and young women, and whether it's the wheelchair basketball or football players, they're not going to Ohio State, going to be NFL, but they're going to have a great experience. They're going to work hard. They're going to learn all the things you learn about athletics, about teamwork, about sticking together, overcoming obstacles, discipline, the hard work, the dedication, the commitment, sacrifice, all those things that an employer is looking for.
Right.
You're learning as an athlete. You're getting a quality education at Edinboro University, and as a part of our athletic department, we make all of our student athletes, we ask all of our teams to do a community service project. So, we may have our women's basketball team goes down and helps out at a church in Cambridge Springs that our former coach, Dr. Lipkovich, is involved in, and they go clean and help and do some things there. We have some folks that go over to the Edinboro Manor and help over there. We have, I think the wrestling team goes over and cleans the YMCA and helps them out. It keeps their costs down. We have, I think our men and women's tennis team have a leaf raking program where they'll help rake some leaves for folks that are less fortunate.
So giving back to the community.
Giving back into the community.
That's
and then
great.
Every sport, at least once a year, goes up to the Edinboro Elementary and reads to the elementary kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they read on a Friday to them. And then they give them passes for the next game,
That's
or a game. So
Yeah.
so if we have a game on Saturday, they might go up on Friday, read to those classes, give out free passes for the family and them to come to a game the next day. So we really try to be community minded because it's so important for us to teach the young men and young women how to give back,
Sure.
to volunteer,
Right.
to be a good citizen. And I'm so proud of our student athletes that they really do a great job. Our Make-A-Wish initiative, we've done 3 or 4 reveals and raised a lot of money for Make-A-Wish, and it's all credit to our student athletes.
Well, direction comes from you, and you're very humble, but it's also you and your coaches and your student athletes. But let's talk about summer here at Edinboro, because you have camps that go on. I know one that's kind of close to your heart is the wrestling camp, and I see sometimes you're in there.
Well, we have literally thousands of kids come to camp in the summer at Edinboro University.
Tell us the camps you have up here.
Pardon me?
What kind of camps do you have?
Well, we have we have 4 huge soccer tournaments. I mean, just big soccer tournaments. 2 of them are just Pennsylvania kids. 2 of them are, one of them is just all over the country. It's really kind of the Memorial
all over the place they are out here.
Yeah, Memorial Day, 20-some fields.
Yep.
7 dorms full of soccer players. It's a pretty neat experience. Hundreds of kids eating over the cap. We have, we would have swimming camps. We have football camps. We have lacrosse clinics. We have, obviously 2 different wrestling camps. We have a Jay Robinson's camp, and then Tim Flynn's and Bruce Baumgartner's camp. We have a couple of different soccer groups come in. We have different basketball. We have our own women's basketball coach. We have another Keystone basketball come in. Probably 10 or 12 different bands come in for camp. So you're literally looking at, multiple thousands of young men and young women, boys and girls coming to camp. Swimming camp, cross-country camp, I think we have a track camp. I can't remember them all. And then we have clinics in there too, one-day things. Football just had a one-day thing last weekend with, I think, 300 kids on campus. So, brings kids on campus, which, we hope helps the enrollment, but also, helps the Edinboro economy, helps the region. Some of these even one-day clinic people stay overnight. Some of the parents drop their kids off and stay overnight. And then obviously the soccer weekends, you can't get a hotel room within miles around down in Meadville, up in Erie.
Exactly.
They're all full.
And how has the dome helped?
Oh, the dome's been awesome with that. The dome, really has helped our camp and rental type of business. We have during the school year, we have 2 big wrestling events in there that help generate revenue for the athletic department and bring in kids to the local community. And I think that's when you look at Edinboro University as a regional asset, the amount of money that we bring in on some of these events is pretty significant when you have people staying in hotels and stuff. But we have 2 wrestling, we have 2 huge volleyball tournaments that some stay overnight, some don't. We have 2 basketball tournaments for regional and area kids. We have 4 weekends of indoor, maybe 5 weekends of indoor track and field. The whole PIAA doesn't run indoor track and field. It's a different organization. And the whole western part of the state, basically there are 5 big meets and qualifiers up here at Edinboro. So we have literally 1,000 competitors, high school kids, from the Ohio border over to almost like Altoona, straight up, West Virginia to New York. And, again, it's an asset to Edinboro because these are all potential students.
Right.
And it's an asset to the community because all these moms and dads that come up, they're stopping at all, some of our sponsors, McDonald's Pizza or McDonald's Subway are sponsors, they're spending, at our sponsor sheets and so forth. And, I know for a fact that most of the local businesses are, they ask us, when are the soccer weekends? When are the big tournaments during the year and stuff? And, I think it's a win-win, just having these kids on campus is great for the university and for the community.
If people want to get a hold of you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is emailing me at bbaumgartner@edinboro.edu.
And Bruce, I want to say this, known you for a few years, you've always been a very humble person, a great, outstanding man. You represented our country well in the Olympics. We touched on that before. But I want to tell you something, Edinboro made the right decision when they hired you as AD. You've done a great job here.
Thanks
for coming
much.
on.
Thank you very much.
You've been watching Sports Close-Up on Armstrong.